Num, 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 num. Good morning, children of God. So, is it just your imagination? Of course it is. The world is your imagination. Have you forgotten? May need to think about that a little bit as you move through your day. So each time that one comes up, you go, yeah, as a matter of fact, it is my imagination. Thank you very much. So good for us to all be here together. Let's stand, join together, and sing in the silence. O loving Father, Mother God, we acknowledge your presence, moving in and through us in this moment. With each breath I take, I am grateful for the opportunity that we have this day to come together, to worship, to sing, and to pray in the name, in the nature, and in the power of the Christ. Amen.
Now is the time for the reading of the daily word, and today's daily word is life, and it will be read by Josephine.
Life is a precious gift to cherish, to live, and to explore. Along with the gift of living, we are given tools to grow and succeed. Among these gifts, we are given strength to keep going when times get tough. We find a storehouse of energy within us. Our hearts are infused with courage and steadfastness to keep our commitment strong. We are given wisdom and understanding to make right choices. God's light illuminates our path, leading us around, over, and through any stumbling blocks to fulfillment. And we are given love. We have love to share as we cultivate the many blessings of life. We are life. We are precious. We are ourselves, gifts to the world. And from Revelations 22:17, let anyone who wishes to take the water of life as a gift.
Back to my imagination. Regardless of the appearance, rejoice. Regardless of the appearance, give thanks. Regardless of the appearance, I am there. Now we know this truth of us, and the more we practice it, the more that it shows up in our world, the better we are at living life with a capital L. One of the things that we do is regularly commit to the truth of who we are. Let's take our affirmation together. I am a child of the living God. I have within me the all-creating power of the Christ. It radiates from me and blesses all whom I contact. I am now in the presence of pure being and immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. I am now in the presence and I affirm the Father and I are one. I breathe in the truth of me. The Father and I are one. With each breath I take, I hold to this truth. Gently, easily, I move into that place in consciousness that Jesus called our inner closet. It is our secret place. It is that place within you where there is no question, there is no doubt. Here in the stillness, in the silence, we affirm our oneness. I breathe. I am life. I breathe. I am love. I breathe. All is in order. Regardless of the appearance, I am there. We hold this truth of us. We allow it to move in and through us. Here in the stillness, in the silence, I listen. For what has been described as that still small voice, but in truth comes in many forms. Perhaps in the music, in the words we have sung this day. The melody of a bird in a tree, words of faith, words of truth, regardless of how it comes to you. Here in the stillness, in the silence, all my needs are met. This day, that which I need in this moment is freely given. I am blessed. And this day I reach out and claim these gifts. Peace, order, love, harmony, understanding, wisdom, life. This day, I embrace these gifts, each and every cell of my being, immersed in them. I am one with. I know it. I feel it. And in this knowing, I am healed, whole and perfect. In this moment, I choose to be a blessing. I choose to be a blessing as a channel through which good flows into my world, and I open that flow now. Through me, from me, into this place, coming together with other thought of like mind. As I send, I also receive. I am blessed. I allow this flow to move from me, from this place, into our community, touching each and every one of God's children, whether they recognize it or not. Across our state, touching each and every one of God's children. Across our country, touching each and every one of God's children. Around our world, we are one. Throughout our universe, we are one. Breathe. We breathe the breath of life. We are one. As we affirm our oneness, we know that in truth we are never separate one from the other. And somewhere, someone is saying, thank you, thank you, thank you for the gifts that you have sent. I receive and I am grateful. And that gratitude swells up and returns to you. The circle is complete. I live in it. I breathe in it. I move in it. I rest in it for one holy moment. Knowing there is more yet for me to do this day, holding to this experience, I bring my attention back to this now, to this place, to this when. And from my heart I join with you and pray as Jesus, our elder brother, has taught us, when he said, as for you, pray therefore in this manner. breathe. Every now and again we sit down and look at our Sunday program and say, how do we serve you? What's the best way to serve you? And for those of us who have any kind of theatrical background, we like to go, yay! And just keep it in an upward spiral the whole way. And one of the challenges is we have moments where we want to rest and be still, and we want to be in a high vibratory state. And so coming to a structure is not real easy sometimes. I could have sat back down here for another 5 or 10 minutes. You know, it could have waited on me. You know what I mean? Would have been just fine by me. It had been real quiet. Somebody been doing this, and it's okay. But that's progress. It's steady progress. And that's what we're really all about, is learning how to take one step out as in front of the other as you were. Just keep moving forward in faith, in the truth of who you are. And we're learning how to overcome things. I saw something this morning and I thought to myself, here is an explanation for why the world works the way it does. They did a little bit on Portugal. And it were the Portuguese navigators that pretty well figured out what the world looks like, and they were not afraid of falling off the edge. They said, oh, progress. And one of the things they showed was a 70-foot high wave coming into this bluff. And they gave an award to the guy who was not really bright, in my humble opinion, that surfed it. And all my surfing buddies are going, how soon can I get to Portugal? Because a 70-foot wave, that's really something. We didn't mention the cliff at the end. Say it's not about falling that worries me, it's the sudden stop. Same kind of thing here. But it was really kind of neat to watch. And I thought to myself, here were people who looked at the majesty of that, at the power of that, at the strength of that, and said, and I will overcome it. That's a little on the audacious side. I kind of like it. Otherwise, we'd still be concerned about falling off the edge. Right? And throughout our history, evolution, things change on a regular basis. New things come into our understanding and manifestation. It's what we were talking about when I began this morning. It's about our imagination. Can we see it? Can we bring it to fruition? How many of you are watching the commercials from Samsung Galaxy about the watch? I'm going, because now instead of those of you who have smartphones, now they have it on a watch with 88 applications, including a telephone. And all I can think of is when you're driving is don't answer the phone. Hello? I tell that story because I can tell you this one. There was a one-car accident on the highway. Some friends of ours from Grants Pass, a teacher who had to sneeze and went, achoo, while she was holding onto the wheel. Oops. Progress from 1930s when Dick Tracy first said, hello. And here it is, almost 100 years later, 90, 80 years later. Oh, 80 for those who need that number. And look, it has come to fruition, an idea whose time has come. And it may stay or it may not. And we'll shift into those things that will work. Sometimes for good, sometimes we think not so much good, but it'll work out for us. But we need to hold on to the truth of who we are, the faith that we're moving forward, that new things are coming into fruition so that you and I have the opportunity to spend more time, if you will, in the study of who we are, in the practice of being. We're moving out of survival. I have friends who live on farms today, and those in this congregation who have done that for a living. And that was a daylight to dark and then some, 7 days a week, 365, no vacation kind of a gig. No union either, I might point out. But that's another issue. They did what they needed to do. We collectively did what we needed to do to survive. And now, collectively, there are still those who live on the farm. God love them. Who still work from dawn till dusk, 7 days a week, so that you and I have the opportunity to spend more time in reflection, in prayer, in meditation, in order to move forward collectively and raise consciousness. And things change. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I had forgotten until we were in this discussion that most of my life we lived in what I call seasons. There were seasons when this food stuff was available, and then there were seasons when they weren't. Now, right now, you can get lettuce 365 days a year from some place on the planet. Not just from Salinas. Because when I was growing up, that's where lettuce grew. Still does. But literally from anywhere in the world now, year-round. So we're getting to see the notion of no limitation on what we need. Now, is it being distributed as well as we want? No. Are there still starving children in China? I suppose so. Pick a country, it's okay. Because we're still holding on to the notion of not enoughness. But see, that's progress. We're moving past it, we're moving through it. And it's one by one day at a time, that we move through it. It's not that long ago that we sacrificed to the gods. Generally women, no offense. Virgin into the burning fire. Thank you, God. We're good for another year. Bizarre stuff that we came through because we didn't understand our relationship to God. And we're beginning to really understand that that's really not the way to go, although there are some people who still think that's not a bad idea. And God loved them, regardless. But we're learning to understand more about what our relationship. I don't need to make sacrifice to understand who I am, on the one hand. On the other hand, I do need to make a sacrifice. What do I need to sacrifice? I need to sacrifice my unbelief. I need to set aside that which is no longer true of me. I need to take those children ideas and eliminate them. So we're doing the same kind of thing, we're just doing it a different way. We're understanding that thought and feeling is much more important than physical sacrifice. Although, some of us haven't made that switch yet in our world. It's okay. It'll come. Why? Because it's one step after the other. Each of us doing it our own way, as it were, figuring out what works for us and what doesn't. Understanding what works for us and what doesn't. Taking into our own path that which works for us and that which doesn't. And breathing a lot. Breathe. See, because I said some things that upset some of you and you're holding your breath. Breathe. Good, you should be upset, by the way. Because I have a really good teacher here. I didn't come to give you peace, I came to divide you. Father from son, husband from wife, sister from mother. Now that sounds like the Prince of Peace, doesn't it? That's who said it. That's who said it. But on the literal interpretation, you look at that and go, come on, what's this about? But you have to look past it. And here again, it's part of the progress. Looking past the literal interpretation, it's saying, what was Jesus really saying there? What he was really saying is, you need to detach from the generations of stuff that you have coming at you and go to the truth of who you are. You can still honor those people, but you need to recognize that you are a divine one. And people who love you don't see that often. And what's more upsetting is you don't see it at all most of the time. Which is why we're doing what we're doing. And we have these conversations regularly. When I say to you, I behold the Christ, I can remember the first time I was in a class when that came up. I mean, I watched people do whiteouts right then and there. I mean, it went pale, moved a little bit far away from the instructor in case lightning hit. And these are New Thought students, just like you and I. But to move, again, that's part of the progress, to move from recognizing the divinity of Jesus of Nazareth and understanding when He said, you and I are one, that you have within you that same divinity. You are one with the Father as I am one with the Father. It's taken us 2,000 years and we still go, oh, they can't really mean that. Yeah, you really can. You are divine. That is part of your inheritance. But we have all this stuff that was brought to us by our fathers and our mothers and our sisters and our brothers who we love. And we get into conflict because if I love somebody, I don't want to have to disagree with them. Particularly if, when you were raised as I was, if it came from an elder, it was the gospel in their presence. Now, the second I went this far away, where I thought they couldn't hear me, we had the discussion about whether that fit me or not, but I didn't raise it in that venue. And we're still to that way a lot because the thought is still there. So a new thought comes to us, and I'm afraid to move out on it because, they will take offense. Really? Yeah. Good. What? I want them to take offense. I want you to be upset with me. Now, on the surface, that sounds really kind of bizarre. But if you're upset, what are you doing? You're paying attention. You're being aware. And now you're in a position to take power, yours, which you have, which is to say out loud, Rob, I think you're full of prunes. And my response is, thank you. They're my prunes and I like them. It's okay to be me. It's okay for you to be you. It's part of that stretch. It's part of that steady progress. I'm not as concerned about out in as I am concerned about from the inside out. I've learned new stuff. I keep myself open. Stuff that I kind of knew at an intellectual level is beginning to move from here to here. Words take on whole new meanings. I think I've shared, in fact, I know I've shared this with you a number of times. One of my teachers said something that I have never, ever forgotten, not ever. Words in and of themselves have no meaning other than that which you put on them. So let me give you a word. Satana. S-A-T-A-N-A. How many of you just went horns and tail? Right? Okay. That's not what that word means. It means he who has slipped. He who has missed the mark. That's what that word means. He who has slipped or missed the mark. So when you hear then, get thee behind me, Satan, what are you really saying? Get those errors behind you. I choose not to live in that place of error. It's not about person or personality. It's a statement of observation. Doesn't that change your whole world all by itself? If we did nothing else today than just that? One definition changed that definition for you. And notice that the word evil doesn't show up in that statement. To miss the mark is not evil. To slip is not evil. Rather, it is an opportunity to grow. Another step. All I have to do is just change the label. So I can pull that whole evil thing out and go, wait a minute, that's not the truth. Ever, the duality piece that shows up in my world was invented by whom? Me. In the beginning, God. And God created all. So what got created? All things. God. And he named them good. He went one step further and helped us a little bit, and he named them good. So, bottom line, all is good. If we don't see it that way, that's not on God. As much as I would like to blame him. Or her, if that's what your picture looks like. No, it's on me. It's on my belief system. It's on the words that I use that paint a picture that aren't true of me. And this comes to me how? Unto the generations. It comes from my parents. It comes from my grandparents. Stuff that was absolutely true for them and they practiced that was not the truth of the world. That's the progress. Each generation makes progress. There are those who suggest that that will never happen. I don't know about this younger generation. The world is certainly cannot possibly survive as we know it. Now, that was not a statement made this week. That was a statement made by Socrates. Been a day or two when an older generation looked at the world and said, oh boy, are they in trouble. But we're in a different set of troubles. That's all it amounts to. It goes back to the have you forgotten? We forget who we are. One of my great teachers said, I'm here to remind you of what you already know. Right? As a child of God, you already know the truth of who you are. You know it. That's your inheritance, is that you know it. All the other stuff you also know isn't necessarily true. I don't inherit sickness, do I? Sometimes I put myself in its way based on what? My belief systems. I think to myself of Sister Teresa. You want to talk about a person that put themselves in harm's way day after day after day after day. Every outward appearance of what? Disease, destruction. Yuck. But she never saw that. And as a result, she lived her life with a capital L. Not in the appearance, but in the knowing. Steady progress. Right? When you get to the point where you can eliminate that thinking in you, great strides happen. I've shared a story with you. There's something new. We talk about this, and when it happens every now and again, I go, kind of fun. We traveled over to Sacramento. We did some training. Lynn and I did some training and met with my brother-in-law and spent some time. And I was looking at our calendar, and this is the first time that Lynn and I together have been out of the Valley overnight in 3 years. We've separately been out of the Valley from time to time, but together 3 years. We needed a break. One of the challenges that we have about traveling over the hill is there's just so much traffic. Blech. Crazy people. Otherwise, they wouldn't live in that. Maybe we need to make a shift in thinking just a little bit. So we breathe and pray. And when we talk about putting the white light around you, it'll work if you'll allow it. That doesn't mean there's not a lot of people out there, but all of a sudden we find ourselves, I'm driving along, and there's nobody in 10 or 12 car lengths around us on a 5-lane highway. Where did that come from? What do I need in the moment? I want to feel safe. I want to feel secure. I don't want to feel hemmed in, right? Okay, got it. I want to go safely from point A to point B. And in this whole trip, only a couple of times did that waver. And it was there every step of the way. We had the space we needed. We needed to change lanes or whatever. It was all there for us every step of the way. Why? Because we didn't enter into it from a fear place, but rather a place that love. We know what we're doing. We know what we're about. We know who's in charge of our world. God is my source, and therefore all is good. And I'm going to breathe that in. I'm going to live that, and it's going to be just great. And it is. I would almost guarantee you, however, that there was somebody 2 cars behind us that will swear that was the worst traffic jam they were ever in their whole life. I can't believe we have to do this every day. Right? What's the difference? Mindset. Mindset. 1, I am in cooperation with all of God's critters, 2-legged, 4-legged, and behind the wheel. I'm in cooperation with the environment. On the way down, the wind blew us. And if you ever traveled that Interstate 5 going south, you know what that looks like. I euphemistically said if we put up the sail, we wouldn't have used any gas. Just and I'd probably end up with a ticket for speed, but that's another issue. It just pushed us the whole way. And so we're getting ready to come home, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to have to fight that wind all the way back. Because the map looked the same, when the weather map. And I went, no, that's not the truth. The truth is there's no fight. The truth is we're heading home, and it's going to be a wonderful day, and it's going to be joyous, and it's going to be bright, and it's going to be smooth, and we're just going to absolutely love it. And guess what? It was. One little bump around Redding, one little bump around Weed. That was it. As opposed to, I know this is going to be and live in that. And then get here and say, boy, you can't believe how. But we all live that way. Say, but we're learning how to. May I humbly suggest, step forward. Use your imagination. Use your visualization. What do you want your world to look like? And work with that. That's the truth of who you are. You're created in the image and likeness, which means you have all the aspects of being. And we have a lot of lessons that talk about that. And the one we're dealing with today is the fact that you don't have to get it all right today or all perfect today. You're already perfect. It's okay if you don't get it all right today. Keep taking the step. One step after the other. Because each time you take a step, you bring the generations with you. Each time you heal something for you, you heal not only the past generations, you heal those who are to come in the future. That's an awesome responsibility and an easy one. The responsibility part. It's not simple. But it's easy. I can take it on because I know who my source is. I know God's in charge of my world. And if I'm going to make a sacrifice, it'll be that I'm going to sacrifice those beliefs that no longer serve me. I'm going to sacrifice those things which are no longer the truth of me. And I'm going to live in the way that I know I can. And I can live in oneness. Breathe. I can live in the truth so that I can look at all of God's children and say, I love you. I want you to hold a picture of someone with whom you have a degree of difficulty. Got a picture? I love you. Together. I love you. Hold the picture. Breathe. I love you. Together. I love you. Hold the picture. Breathe. I love you. Together. I love you. Let the light shine. You are the light of the world. Namaste.
Thank you for listening. Please feel free to pass this message along to your friends and family. You can obtain additional audio tapes or CDs by visiting our website or by calling our office at 541-772-6902. We invite you to join us in prayer. We know that prayer works, and now you can send your prayer request to our prayer team here at Christ Unity Church by using the form on our website. The activities, programs, and services of this ministry are presented on a love offering basis. All gifts, regardless of size, are gratefully accepted. You may participate either by sending your gift to Christ Unity Church, 540 North Holly Street, Medford, Oregon, 97501, or by visiting us on the internet at www.unitymedford.org.